Good morning. Today is Wednesday, April 15. Used to be known as Tax Day, and I guess it still is. We are going to be doing skill number J.11, solving using the quadratic formula. So this is the third in five skills that you're going to be doing to cover your first test score packet, I guess you'd call it, for quadratics. So remember, what we're really doing for your test score is we're taking the average of the scores of these first five skills, and that becomes your test score. So you're doing your practice and you're doing your test at the same time. It's kind of nice. All right, so you will be able to solve a quadratic equation using the quadratic formula. That's what we're going to be covering. And I just want to remind you again, no one's grade will go down. So I'm just going to write that at the top here. No one's grade will go down. Okay? And also, to improve your grade, your skill score must exceed your third quarter percent grade. So to improve your grade, your skill score must exceed your third quarter percent grade. Okay, so now we know what we're doing today, and we know that this is what you've got in terms of, again, where you're going with this as far as grades are concerned. So quadratic formula. Here's the quadratic formula. You've seen it many times before. If you need to, stop your video, take a picture, or not take a picture of this, write this down. Write it down, because you're going to want to use this as you go. Now, the simple rule that you're following with this is where A does not equal 0, and remember, you've got an A here, you've got a B here, and you've got a C over here. Then you can solve a quadratic equation for x where you know that A, B, and C, and that A, B, and C is as is found in your standard form of your quadratic equation, ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So if you get a quadratic equation that is not set up like this into standard form, one of the things you'll want to do is to solve that equation so that it is in standard form. So you'll want to get the ax squared plus bx plus c all on one side of the equation, and it should equal 0. Okay? All right. And also remember, it's at times some of these terms will not appear. You must always have an a that isn't 0. So you always see something x squared or just x squared. You may not see the bx or the c if the b and the c are 0, or either or, okay? Or and. Okay, so that's the rule, and that we're going to go over and work on our problems. Again, if you need to, use a piece of paper encased in plastic. I use this extensively for geometry. I've been writing or drawing XY coordinate charts. We've been doing all kinds of geometric things with it. It's very useful. But you can have a blank sheet and do the same thing using your erasable marker. Okay, so this is our problem that we're going to work as an example. And so you're going to solve this using the quadratic formula. Here's the equation. It's solved for y equals 0. And that's the standard form of your equation. So you can just find your a, b, and c. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I'm going to plug in down here, plug in a equals 5, b equals -8, and c equals -4 into the formula. So I'm going to rewrite this, and I'm going to put the a, b, and c in red just to start. And this should be r equals, somehow or other the equal sign fell in that equation. So we're going to rewrite it, r equals, and then let's see, negative, and then in parentheses, our b is -8, plus or minus the square root of, and then I'll draw a line here. We don't know how long we need it. Times b squared, so b again is -8. I'll put that in parentheses. Minus 4 times a times c. I'm going to put those in parentheses. And a is 5. C is -4. Okay, so I've got -8 for B, positive 5 for A, and C is -4. And that's all divided by 2A. And of course we said again A is 5, so 2 times 5. Okay. All right. So our next job here, so we plug this in, is we're going to have to multiply. I'm just going to keep this simple, and I'm just going to say multiply. So I'm going to be multiplying obviously -4 times 5 times -4, and over here where I've got the -8 squared, that's really -8 times -8. And this is over here, -8 is -1 times -8, and of course 2 times 5. So that's all really multiplication. So since it's multiplication, we're going to write r equals, so this is -1 times -8, or positive 8. Because a negative times a negative is positive, plus or minus, and then let's see, -8 squared is 64, so plus or minus the square root of 64. We'll just do this in black. Well, let's see, we got -4 times 5 times -4, so a negative times a negative is positive. Our result is going to be positive, so I'm going to put plus. -4 times 5 is -20 times -4 is positive 80. Because 20 times 4 is 80, so positive 80. All right? And that's all divided by 2 times 5, or 10. Okay? Okay, so now I've got to add the 64 and the 80, so we'll say add. And so r is going to equal 8 plus or minus the square root of, now 64 plus 80, many of you can add that in your head and you'd come up with 144. If you are prone to error, or as you get along to some of the more complicated questions where you have positives and negatives, you're multiplying and things like that, bring in your graphing calculator. Go ahead and multiply or add as the case may be. So 64 plus 80, and you get 144. So make sure you use those tools if you need them. and this is divided by 10. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to split this into two equations. So we're going to have r equals, let's see, 8 plus or minus, oops, we're going to split it. So 8 plus the square root of 144 divided by 10, or r equals 8 minus the square root of 144 divided by 10. Now we'll take the square root. That you see. So that leaves us with r equals 8 plus, and the square root of 144 is 12. That's if you know your perfect squares, but if you don't, then what you're going to do is you're going to go up here, and for this answer 144, I'm going to click now the second button, and then I'm going to click the square root button, which is behind, it's the blue behind the x squared button, so click that, and I put in my 144 and close my parentheses, hit enter, and I get 12. So I know that that's 8 plus 12 divided by 10. And if you simplify that, 8 plus 12 is 20 divided by 10, which equals, what is 20 divided by 10? It's 2. Okay. And then you got over here the same thing. Square root of 144 is 12. So you've got, in this case, r equals 8 minus 12 divided by 10, which equals, let's see, 8 minus 12 is negative 4 divided by 10. And you can simplify that to negative 2 over 5. Okay, so your answer is r equals 2 and r equals negative 2 over 5. Now I want to tell you, and you'll notice it has or over here. Or. I can put an or right there. There's a raging debate that goes on in math over whether we should be using or and. I like and, but you will find in this particular IXL material they use or. So I'm going to change that to or. And the reason why I say I think it's and, it's because if you think about this, square roots have 2x values. And so when you graph it, you get a parabola. So and is really, I think, more appropriate. But this is the way they're doing it. So since IXL is doing it this way this time, grit your teeth, put, use the or. And it may be that the IXL system already has the or in there, and you just plug in the values. And you don't have to worry about it. Okay. All right. So that's basically it. You've got everything you need to go for this particular section. Good luck to you, and have a great afternoon. Thank you. Bye-bye now.